Welcome. It is time for Constitution Study Television. Back in my office without the big set going on. We'll do that some other time. Didn't want to put up the green screen. Haven't had a video for a while, but something has been on my mind. The nature of our rights. And it drives me nuts because we're in a society where the liberal left, the cultural Marxism, has completely changed the definitions of everything in order to grab a hold of our culture, our society, and twist it in directions it was never intended to go. And so I wanted to talk about the nature of our rights. You've heard the term natural rights. Natural rights means that your rights are naturally yours. They are your possession. Now remember, Marxism, progressivism, all of that, they believe that possession is bad, that we should be able to evolve beyond the need for possessions. Well, if you don't have possessions, you don't have what you own, you don't have what's important to you, then you also don't have your rights, because your rights are your possession. Then it's up to government to dictate to you what your rights are, and how they're going to be, and through legal means and all that. And because of that, there has been a definition that has developed that our rights are guaranteed, our rights are protected by government, so on and so forth. But if we look at the U.S. Constitution and the Declaration of Independence, what we learn is that our rights are exactly the opposite. It's something different. Go to the First Amendment. The first words of the First Amendment are, Congress shall make no law. The final words of the Second Amendment are, shall not be infringed. Beginning of the Third Amendment, no soldier shall. Right smack in the middle of the Fourth Amendment, shall not be violated. It is not government's job to protect your rights. It is not government's job to guarantee your rights. It is not government's job to make laws regarding your rights so that you can have your rights and force your rights upon other people. According to the First Amendment, the Second Amendment, the Third Amendment, and the Fourth Amendment, the job of government, or at least the federal government, is hands off our rights. Don't touch, none of your business, because they belong to us. They are our possessions. We talk about things like property rights. Do we really have property rights in this country? Stop paying your property taxes and tell me what happens. Water rights. There's actually a neighborhood in, I think it's Newberry Springs is the name of it, in California, where they have meters on people's wells. They're accessing water that's underground that either would stay there otherwise or head off to the ocean, but the government's going to tax them on it or make them pay a fee or a user's fee or something. Do we not have water rights? Well, do we have constitutional rights? And the answer is no, we don't have constitutional rights. We're not supposed to have constitutional rights. What we have are natural rights. And the nature of those rights is, and let's go to the Declaration of Independence now, because we already know government's job is to leave them alone. They're our possession. So we have to go to the Declaration of Independence, and we find two interesting phrases in there. The first one being that to secure these rights, governments are instituted among men. So the purpose of government is to secure your rights, not protect, not guarantee, but to secure them. Secure them, what does it mean by secure? To secure them in the place that they belong and make sure they're not dislodged. You know, when you secure your child in a child car seat, while protecting them is on your mind, really the purpose is to secure them so that they're not dislodged in case of an accident, that the child remains in the place they belong when an accident happens. Government is instituted among men to secure our rights, to keep them in our possession. In other words, to restrain themselves from making any laws regarding our rights and to restrain others from taking our rights, such as invaders, or in society someone might, invade your house, and so they should be investigated and arrested and all that because they violated your rights in your home and so on and so forth. And that's where we get kind of screwy. Oh, they violated my rights, so government's got to get involved. Well, yeah, after the fact, there's got to be a report or whatever. But the true nature of rights, and I've talked about this before, and I can't emphasize this enough. The true nature of our rights is that they belong to us, they're up to us to defend, to use if we want to pursue if we want to, and that goes back to what I want to say: life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Those are your rights. Life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. You have a right to life, you have a right to liberty. All the rest of the stuff you have a right to pursue. Pursuit of happiness. So, Doug, do we have a right to water? Well, you have a right to pursue it. And if you want to use a well, then you should be able to use a well. We know from the Bill of Rights that government's job when it comes to our rights is not to interfere. So, if we have a right to access that water, it's on our property, and our property right is that whatever's under it and on that property is ours. The government has no right to get involved. What about marriage, Doug? Do I have a right to get married? Well, let's go back to whether or not government should be involved in the first place. Government should not be making laws saying this has to happen or that has to happen in marriage. Government shouldn't be involved at all. So if certain people want to get married, that you disagree with that, if they can find pursuit of happiness, if they can pursue it and find someone willing to do it, more power to them. But they don't have the right to use the legal system to force you to do it the way they want, because you have a right to disagree. Do we have a right to have a cake baked the way we want? No, but we have a right to pursue it. Life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. So if this baker says, you know what, I don't agree with that message. Religiously, I just can't bring myself to do it. Fine. I have a right to pursue my happiness. I'll pursue it elsewhere. Thank you. Adios. Religious rights. Mosques? That's a tough one. Because we know that Islam is not as much a religion as it is a political system. But if someone wants to practice their religion, they have a right to practice that religion, as long as they're not interfering with other laws and rules and so on and so forth that don't interfere with rights. For example, I have a right not to be attacked by terrorists. Government is instituted among men to secure my rights. Almost said protect there. To secure my rights, and then to get involved if someone else violates my rights. But should they get involved if I'm upset because someone is practicing their religion in a particular mosque? No, unfortunately, they do have the right to have that mosque, but they don't have a right to break our other laws. And if that mosque is a base for terrorism, the government has the right to get involved because, well, it's breaking other laws that have nothing to do with religion. But ultimately, when it comes to the nature of our rights, and in the Declaration it says, the laws of nature and of nature's God. Really what it comes down to is our rights are all about the rule of law, and the rule of law is based on right and wrong. And in this world, right means wrong and wrong means right, right? Something in Isaiah that says that, or Ezekiel that says that there'll be a day when that happens. But in a virtuous society, we know the difference between right and wrong. It's self-evident, as it says in the Declaration of Independence. If it's self-evident, then we know what our rights are. We know what the truth is. We know what the rule of law should be. We know what's right and wrong. And our society should be based on that. If we are not following what's right and wrong, we're not following the rule of law. And the rule of law is based on the laws of nature and of nature's God, and the fact that our rights are our possession and belong to us. There's tough questions out there, but ultimately it comes down to it's our responsibility to make sure our society runs properly based on what we believe to be a virtuous path. The problem is virtue has even been slapped around, hasn't it? Which goes back to a statement that I make often. Benjamin Franklin said that only a virtuous people are capable of freedom. As nations become corrupt and vicious, they have more need of masters. So if we're not following a virtuous path, we will have more need of masters. In other words, we will welcome more government because all heck is breaking loose. That's why we're not supposed to be a democracy, mob rule. Remember the Ferguson riots, and this kid comes up to the camera and says, "This is what democracy looks like." And I responded, yeah, that's why we're not supposed to be a democracy. We're supposed to be a republic. Part of our problem is all the mechanisms are out of whack. We're not acting like a republic, and we're treating our rights as if government has a say in them. Or as if our rights are supposed to supersede somebody else's rights. So therefore, a law must be made to force a baker to make a cake a certain way, or a law must be in place to force civil rights into place. Well, I have a right to be all kinds of things, don't I? Isn't that my business? Should government not tell me that I'm not supposed to be Islamophobic, homophobic, racist? It's not government's job. If I want to be those things, that's my business. I'm not saying I am those things. But I'm saying in a society where we have liberty, don't people have a right to think the way they want? And refuse to participate in things they disagree with? In our current society, we have political correctness, we have the homosexual agenda, we have all these other things going on that are saying, no, you have to comply or else. Really? Isn't that kind of tyrannical? Ultimately, the nature of our rights is this. They are our possession, they belong to us, and they are our responsibility. If we're not responsible with our rights, then government will believe it has the right to take them from you. So we have to be responsible with our rights. We have to be responsible with our culture. We have to be responsible with our society. And see, that's what it all comes down to. We haven't been. We haven't been teaching that we should be a virtuous people. We've not been teaching the tenets of the Bible, biblical truth, the golden rule, so on and so forth. We're so busy trying to force our rights upon other people and use a law to condemn someone for not agreeing with our rights that now some people's rights are not accessible to them anymore. At what point does government finally just grab hold of everything and tell you what you can or can't do all the time? And we already kind of feel that way anyway, don't we? The nature of our rights. We've got to be a virtuous people because they're God-given rights. They're supposed to be self-evident if we're a virtuous people. They're unalienable, belong to us, inseparable. Government's not supposed to get in the way of them. We're entitled to them. God-given, after all. Life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Do I have a right to health care? Sure, I have a right to pursue it. But I also have a right to have a choice as I pursue it. Government doesn't have a right to force their version of it down my throat. Government's job isn't to guarantee it. Government's job is not to protect health care. Government's job is to stay out of the way so that the market can do what it does. Remember, Congress shall make no law, so on and so forth. Do I have a right to make these videos? Free speech? Sure. Government has no authority to get involved. But if YouTube or somebody else wanted to censor me, that's their prerogative, because they have a right not to agree with whatever's being put out there. And then I have a responsibility, if I want to get my message out there, to pursue another avenue. I think it's messed up. I think it's wrong what YouTube and Google and things like that are doing. Perhaps they're too big. When they influence elections and national security, then I think government should be able to get involved. Otherwise, it's none of government's business. Nature of our rights. They're our responsibility. They're up to us. What are you going to do with your rights? Are you going to pursue them? Are you going to act upon them? Are you going to use them? Or are you going to force them down somebody's throat? I have a right to swing my arms, but I don't have a right to swing my arms into your face. I have a right to have a cake baked the way I want, but I don't have a right to force a baker to bake it the way I want. I have a right to get married. I don't have a right to force anybody to do my marriage, to perform my marriage. I've got to pursue the person who is willing to. The nature of our rights. Got any questions? Send me an email, constitutionspeaker@yahoo.com. Want to visit my websites, politicalpistachio.com, douglasvgibbs.com, right down there. You can see them. There's also a donate button on there. Always need help, especially right now. We've got a few things going on. Radio program is in the hole, over $500. This effort right here is getting harder and harder to do because I got all kinds of other things going on that, trying to, do different things to keep everything afloat. So donate button's a good thing. New book, working on it right now. The latest, A Promise of American Liberty, is out there. Go to Amazon, buy it. Nice big fat book. Next one's going to be about our president. I'll let you know once I'm ready to release it. Till next time, where we go one, we go all. God bless America. God bless you. United we stand, combined we kick butt. Stay safe, stay patriotic, and as always, stay constitutional. We'll see you next time.